Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Divine and in today's video I'll be showing us how to create this trendy sleeve design as you can see here. So if this is something you're interested in, kindly like this video, share and also subscribe to the channel. So I have half yard of my organdy fabric here. I have my satin, my estee and my paper. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create the base for this structure. This structure has a base, and to determine the measurement for the base I'm going to be using this dummy. So I want my sleeve to be this big, the structure rather to be this big, which is 9 inches, but the base for this structure is not going to be 9 inches, it's going to be lesser than that. So the organdy fabric is going to complete the length. So I will get a midpoint on this pattern here and go up with 3 inches and come down with 3 inches for the length, and on the side I'll go out with 2.5 inches and come out with 2.5 inches on the other side. So I'm using a length of 6 inches and a width of 5 inches. So by the time we are done sewing our ruffles, the organdy is going to come out to complete the required length we need of 9 inches. So and I added my seam allowance of 1/2 inch around this paper. So this is it. So we're having like an oval shape here. Now I'm going to cut out this pattern on my satin fabric. I'll be cutting it on fold. So after cutting, I'm going to mark out the sides that is going to have the estee. I'll be putting my estee on the shining side. I'll iron it. And for the organdy fabric here, I'm working with half yard for this. I'll fold it and I'll be making use of the length of 60 inches and a width of 6 inches. So I have a width of 6 inches here and a length of 60 inches. So I'll cut out as much as possible. Because I'm working with half yard, I'm having 3 pieces of fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do with this now is to fold it into 2 like so. After which I will sew the side with 1/2 inch and sew the other sides with 1/2 inch all the way to the end. And this is my base here. I've gone ahead to sew it round with 1/2 inch and I left about 1 inch open at the before closing it where I can turn out my base. So I'll use my scissors to arrange it properly. After doing that, I'm going to fold in the allowance that I left open, then sew at the tip, then iron out my base. So this is what I've done with my organdy fabric here. I'll just reduce the allowance here, after which I'm going to turn it to the right side. I'll turn it to the right side. Then I'm going to fold it, making sure that the sewing allowance aligns. I'll iron it out to be flat. I'll do that for all the pieces I have. So this is what I have after doing that, and this is my base. I've closed it up and I've ironed it. And for this organdy here, you can see I've ironed it to be flat. So I'm going to be making bold pleats on this with this organdy fabric. I'll make bold pleats. The pleats should be bold, that is, it should go in very well when we're making the pleats. And we're having like a 1 inch difference between each pleat. So now I'm going to mark out where we're going to be sewing our pleats on this base. And like I said, we'll be marking the very tip of this base because that is where the first ruffle is going to be, so that the ruffle can complete the total length of 9 inches we want to achieve. So I'm going to be marking out the curve and I'm using an interval of 1/2 inch here. But when you are making yours, you can see the illustration here, it is fuller than what I'll be making for this tutorial. So if you are making something fuller, it means you will be using less than 1/2 inch between each lines. So the first thing I'll do now is to close up the opening on the side of my organdy here. I'll fold it in with 1/2 inch and sew it close. So you will need more than 1/2 yard of organdy if you are making yours and if you want it to be very full. Now I'll be showing us how to make the pleat, and the side with the joining on this fabric is going to be facing down. I'm going to be sewing on the parts with the joining so that the joining side does not show on the upper side of our fabric. So please take a look at how I'm pleating it. I'm picking it up and making sure it goes all in. So don't make your pleats to be small. It needs to go in very deep, as much as we can. So I'll pick about 1 inch and fold it. I'll pick about 1 inch again and fold it in. So I'm going to do that all the way to the end, and I'll do that for all the pieces that I have. So you can see what I'm having. The pleats are bold and they are going in very well. So I'll do that to the end, and you can see what I'm having here. This is what I'm having. Next, I'm going to take this to my ironing table, and iron it to be flat. So this is it after doing this for all the pieces I have. You can see how it's flat and the pleats lapped very well. Now to sew this, I'm going to be placing 1/2 inch on my organdy fabric on the tip of the base, like so. I'll place it on the tip of the base because this organdy fabric needs to complete the length of the structure we're creating today. So I'll place the 1/2 inch seam allowance on this organdy fabric on the tip that I've marked out. So this is how I'll go about it. This is the tip here. I'll place it like so and sew 1/2 inch on the organdy, which we'll be sewing on the tip of the base. I'll sew it and I'll be following the lines I mapped out. And also note that when you are sewing this, you need to also be pushing in the organdy fabric like you want to make another pleat or something. So you will not leave it as it is, because it's going to be, because we are sewing on a curve, the organdy fabric will try to straighten out. And you can see what we are trying to achieve. We don't want the organdy fabric to be straight. We want it to be pleated all the way. So as we are sewing it on the edge, we are pushing it in like we want to make a pleat, so that will help the pleat to still remain. So after sewing the organdy, we have about 2 inches at the top and 2 inches at the bottom, which is 4 inches, plus the 6 inches base that we created. That is about 10 inches. So that will give us the total length of the structure we want to have. And I said if you want yours to be fuller, you will need to create more lines on this base. And when we've sewn all the way to the center point and we have any excess organdy there, we're going to cut out the excess, then fold in with 1/2 inch, just like we did before we started pleating. We're going to fold it with 1/2 inch, then finish it up. So this is what I'm having. This is how the base looks. Then I'm going to use my applique to cover up the center point. You can decide to gum this or hand tack it, and you can decide to use stones, whichever design you want to have. So this is how our structure came out. Now if you measure, you can see that we have a length of 9 inches, just like we wanted, and a width of 8 inches, just like we wanted. What I'll do next is to place this on my sleeve and tag the 4 points on the sleeve. So this is how beautiful our structure came out, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye for now.